Thank you, Gabe. Has anyone ever requested a clearance or a letter of good standing from WCB before? You want to raise your hand? Almost all of us, right? And Gabe's team, it's one of the small things that they do, but really when we're stuck with something, we don't know what to do, prevention can't figure it out, operations can't figure it out, we always go to employer services because they usually have the answer. So they really hold us together in terms of what we do at WCB. I'm very excited to be here. Very excited to be here with you in person. I feel like I have a bit of a disadvantage or an advantage over my two colleagues here, this being a safety conference, and I'm getting the opportunity to see some people that I haven't seen in 4 years, 5 years. Some of them have deliberately been avoiding me for 10 or 5, but I tracked them down, and they were sitting and eating lunch. And it was really wonderful to get a chance to talk with all of you. So I get to do something today as well that I'm really passionate about, is explain what we do in the prevention department. And I'll be honest, I've been with the board for about 3 years, and prior to coming to the board, there were things that prevention was doing I didn't know they did. So I want to make sure when you leave today, in the next, looks like I've got 2 minutes? No, that didn't reset. So I've got 16 or so minutes to share with you. You don't feel that way. You feel like, okay, I understand what this arm of WCB does and how it interacts with the other groups, our operations and employer services, as well as our other partners and the groups that we work with across the province. So let's get started. Is it the green one? Okay. Awesome. Okay, so just wanted to chat a little bit about what WorkSafe is, Mission Zero, and how that relates to WCB and the government of Saskatchewan. Again, I will be honest, when I started and I even applied for the first job that I had at the board, I thought I was going to work for WorkSafe. I was like, oh, this will be great. I love WorkSafe. They have great posters. And then I realized, in the interview, slightly awkward, that WorkSafe itself is more of a brand. It is a partnership or a symbol of the collaboration between labor relations, workplace safety, some of which are in the room today, and WCB, particularly the prevention department, but there's still connection there to the rest of the organization. So when you see WorkSafe, what you're actually seeing is an agreement between labor and WCB that we are going to focus on safety and we're going to work toward preventing serious injuries and fatalities in the province. And that's why a lot of our training, a lot of our posters, our awareness material will have that WorkSafe on there, is because whenever we do something that we're going to brand as WorkSafe, we share that with our folks at Labor. We make sure that they're comfortable with what we're doing in terms of the legislation. They provide us feedback, and we do the same with some of the things that they produce as well. And in terms of Mission Zero, again, that's one of the brands and one of the slogans that you'll see coming out of the WorkSafe group, and it is still part of that whole WorkSafe package. And of course, both the labor officers, the OHS officers, and the staff that support them, as well as the WCB, are funded through the premium process. So the employers pay the premiums. We are responsible for collecting that and for setting the rates, and then we share that with the other groups within that funded those ministries. So let me do that. I was slouching, and all I can think about is a bunch of safety people are gonna be like, John, your posture was not acceptable during this presentation. I don't want that. So when we talk about serious injuries and fatalities, this is the most important data that we have. And it is one of the reasons that we've been moving toward the fatality and serious injury strategy, both starting in 2018, and again with the launch of the new strategy in March by Minister Morgan. So one of the things you'll see on this graph is we've separated the fatality and serious injury, the fatality numbers for the province into two groups. One is the occupational disease group, which you'll see in the orange, lighter color line there. And then the more acute or non-occupational disease fatalities is in the second line. And when we do that, we do see a fairly even break. Now, there is differences, but for the last few years, those lines have converged. So we're seeing about half of the fatalities in the province are related to occupational disease. So those are things like asbestos, those are things from other firefighter cancer, those types of diseases. And then those acute injuries, like motor vehicle accidents or falls, those fit into the second group. So last 4 years or so, they're pretty much even, about half and half. And as Kevin mentioned earlier with the fatality and serious injury strategy, we have a consistent level of fatalities within the province. We're seeing about 30 to 35 every year, and that hasn't changed despite our reduction in total injury claims by about half. So we still have a lot of work to do, and that's why we're so focused and continually talking about serious injuries and fatalities as our primary goal and the reduction of those over the next 5 years and beyond. So sometimes there's a question about, what is a serious injury and why are we focused so much on it? If you come to any conversations, any talks that we're giving as WCB in prevention, we're going to be talking about this. There's a fairly obvious reason that I think all of us agree on is the serious injuries, which include fatalities, those long-term claims that are over 50 days, any claim that results in a 10% or greater reduction in permanent functional ability, as well as those really acute traumatic claims that we communicate to LRWS about. Those are the ones that create the most suffering. Those are the ones that were talked about, that Kurt was talking about this morning. Right? Those are the ones that impact you, your family, long hospital stays, or result in a change in the way that you can live your life or do your work. With that, we also include psychological claims because we're still learning and trying to adapt to how those function. I think Kurt also brought up a really good point, and this was also brought up by Dr. Amel about the integration of psychological injuries and claims within the existing physical safety management systems we have. I'm going to talk a little bit about how we're supporting that in the future, but I completely agree that health is health. And it's okay if we're separating that now as occupational safety and psychological safety, but in the end, it is all health and safety and well-being of our employees and workers. So there's certainly a crossover. And when we see serious injuries, we do see the risk and potential of a psychological injury as well. Now, the first and foremost is the suffering of those individuals, and then we look at the cost. We know about 12% of the claims that occur at WCB in Saskatchewan are serious injuries, and that does represent about 80% of the cost. In fact, when we meet with employers and we talk about the breakdown between their serious injuries and the rest of their claims, almost 90% of the time it's the exact same distribution within an individual organization or company. So it really is our highest cost, our highest amount of suffering, and it is still representing about 2,300 claims. So a relatively small number of claims for that cost and suffering. So when we talk about what are the key focuses of our serious injury and fatality strategy, I won't talk too much about this. Kevin discussed it, but when you look in that strategy, you're going to see a little bit more explanation, and also on our website talking a bit about that. As we were developing our strategy, and as we were looking at how do we operationalize that, we're looking at trying to come up with solutions and collaborations and efforts that will meet each one of these types of hazards, and then also focused around those three industries. However, regardless of what industry we're looking at or who we're working with, we do feel that a lot of this information and tools and resources we develop are applicable across the board. So it doesn't mean you have to be in healthcare or construction or transportation to benefit from the strategy. There are going to be a lot of interesting findings and learnings that will come out of that we'll share, that can apply to almost any industry. And of course, these are our three main focuses. And the way that we are trying to engage with those groups is doing learning collaboratives where we're bringing people together that are having issues in a particular field or with a particular hazard. Right now, we've got a motor vehicle crash collaborative that's working. I'm helping out with a psychological health and safety construction group that we're taking what we've got for resources and implementing them into our safety management system. Again, a lot about what we talked about this morning, right? About we have a lot of resources, we have the skills, we understand what we need to do, but we need to make sure those are integrated into our safety management systems. Otherwise, they're not going to be sustainable. And many of you have incredible safety management systems. You've got the structure, you've got the processes, the continuous improvement. So when it comes to new hazards or adding more robust information, it's a matter of supplementing that, not trying to rewrite or recreate different systems. Of course, one of the things we like to do at Prevention is we take some of the things we're seeing out in the field or we're seeing in research, and we provide resources for you as employers and for workers in the province. One of the more recent applications was the adoption of an energy-based hazard wheel, which was, it's been around, the energy-based hazard idea has been around since the 70s. However, it wasn't until recently from the Construction Safety Resource Alliance, which is a group based out of the University of Colorado, that they've done some more research, particularly to construction, and started to use it there. It's also used in oil and gas. It's also used in other industries. In fact, the first time I heard this was a presentation by someone who's in the audience. I won't name them to embarrass them. They're over there. They work for Graham. They're in safety. They're sitting at a table maybe pointed this direction. And they gave a presentation on this idea of energy-based hazard recognition. I was like, this is amazing. This is interesting. And actually tried it out in our workplace at the time. But it is something that we can help you with, and it is incredibly easy to learn. We can come out to your site, we can teach you how to do it, and your staff are going to be able to do it in 15 minutes. And I guarantee you, you can call me if I'm wrong, but I guarantee you're going to find something new on your work site if you apply something like this. It just opens your eyes up to a different way of thinking about hazards. Of course, we have our Psychological Health and Safety Resource Center. That's been around for a couple years, and we worked on that with Dr. Jody Samra from My Workplace Health. We're continually adding to that, and for me, the most exciting part right now is that we're implementing it, and we're actually testing those resources with employers in the field. And as we get more experience with that and become better at it, that's, again, something we'll be able to help you with going forward. We'll be able to come out to your site, talk to you about how do you integrate psychological health and safety into your workplace. And we'll be able to show you one way or a few ways to do it, and then support you through that journey. Because it can be overwhelming. Just like if you remember, some of you, maybe you started with an organization that had a very minimal safety management system, and you had to implement hazard assessment. You had to do investigations and some of those core things that most of us are really comfortable with doing now. Psychological safety is in that same realm where it's new, it's scary. But there are tools, there's amazing resources that are based on the CSA standard 1003, and we're happy to help. And of course, we also still have our fundamental pillars that really form the basis of our safety management system assessments that we can do with you. And we're happy to come out. We don't have to do a full assessment. We can do a spot assessment. We can just look at small things. But that's one of the things that we provide through the prevention department. Of course, training is something that we've been doing for over 10 years. We took over the occupational health and safety legislative training from Labor over a decade ago, and I'm pleased to let everyone know that we've actually gone through a major revision of our material over the last year, and we should be launching that in the next month or two, including in-person classes again. We've been doing some of those during COVID with specific employers, but we haven't been publishing or having those registrations open for the general group, and those will start in the next month. And although the content, the basis of the content is based in legislation for OHS level 1 and 2 and supervision, but we've revised our material, made it more interactive. It's going to be available as both virtual instructor-led and in person, so don't worry if you're a fan of one or the other. We're going to offer it in both. And it should be a much richer experience for you, and the material will be a lot simpler to follow and professionally designed. So we're really excited about that. And that'll be coming out, like I said, in a month or so. We've also launched our first training standard. So that is a standard that outlines what is required to be accredited through WorkSafe for asbestos. So it's occupational health and safety for the asbestos worker. And that standard is based off the Alberta standard and modified for our Saskatchewan environment. And we are excited to announce that myself and one of our quality folks will be going out to do the in-class audit, which is part of the program for one organization this week. We're actually heading there on Wednesday and Thursday, and we'll have our first accredited provider of this course in the province with a few others that are working through the process as well. And of course, there's lots of different material that we make available through our partnership with CCOHS and on our website as well. So please check out all those resources and training. If you do have any questions, please let us know. In terms of one of the other things that we do in WCB, and particularly my department, is we support the safety associations. So these are your 7 funded safety associations in the province. We have the Heavy Construction Safety Association, Motor Safety Association, Energy Safety Canada, Saskatchewan Association for Safe Workplaces in Health. They're the longest. And we have the Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, number 2. Maybe, I'm guessing, in length. You guys can tell me later. And then we have Service and Hospitality and SASM as well, which is our Saskatchewan Association for Safe Manufacturers. So those organizations are funded as well through the premium process. And some of you may be aware that if you're in a particular rate code, you pay a particular premium that the board of that association deems appropriate. And those funds are collected by WCB, distributed to the safety associations, and we monitor the use of that to ensure that if an employer is paying in a levy to an association, that those associations are using the money to support prevention and health and safety activities. And those safety associations do incredible work. If you're in any industry that is familiar with this, if you're road construction, housing construction, commercial, industrial, if you're working in the hospitality industry or healthcare or any one of those other sectors, I really would encourage you to take some time and speak with those folks at the booth area. They're all here today, and they can provide you with all kinds of different information and resources. These are experts in your area, in your field, and they really are there to help you and to provide you with services, both training, both consulting. Can't say enough about the work that they do. And please take as much advantage of them as possible. They do incredible stuff. And unfortunately, some employers don't know they're even paying into that levy. And that's, again, something that Gabe and her team and my team are working together to try to improve. We want you to know from the beginning you start an organization, this is what rate code you're in, this is what you're paying for your premium, and this is the safety association that you can work with. You can give them a call, and they will start helping you right away. Or you can talk to us, or you can talk to other organizations that are specific to your area. I love this slide. I made this slide using Google Images. None of these are copyright, you guys. It's really fun for me to steal images and put them up there, but the reason I like this slide is because these are actually all of the active partnerships that we have right now in the prevention department. All of the active partnerships. So this means that there is some sort of agreement, whether it's funding, whether it's data sharing, whether it's a research project, whether it's a resource development. These are some of them. And I won't say all because I fear I may have missed one or two. But essentially we have over 50 of these agreements operating at any time in the year. This is outside of the agreements that we have with our safety associations. So these could be community groups. These could be, as you see, the universities. This could be other safety groups. WorkSafe VC's up there. Some consultants that we work with are up there as well. But all of this work that we do is focused on the fatality and serious injury strategy. So when we look at, and if you're interested in partnering with WCB on a particular initiative, what we look for is, will this project or proposal line up with the fatality and serious injury strategy? Will it be something that will help reduce the fatalities and serious injuries in the province? So if you're ever thinking about, hey, I've got an organization, we're doing some stuff with work and safety, maybe we should apply for a research project, or I've got a great research project I want to fund, but I don't have that support. You can go on our website, and if actually you go on our main page, it says partner with us. There's a form you can fill out, and we evaluate it, and we talk to you, and we make sure that all those things are clear before we go any further. But as you can see, it's a very diverse group. So if you're not sure and you just want to chat, I'm happy to talk to you, because some amazing things come out of these partnerships, amazing resources. Sometimes we get our message to people that have been, maybe left out of the other discussions or we haven't talked to before. And really it is all the same thing. We're trying to reduce serious injuries and fatalities. Looks like I've got a few more minutes left. So I just want to end with one thing. Well, two things. One thing. So first and foremost, I really do appreciate everyone coming out and seeing you in person, and those at home or at work. It is great to be doing this once again. And I hope we've had a little bit of fun, and you've had a few laughs, and you're going to be entertained and educated through the rest of the conference. But I'd like to talk seriously about this particular statistic that we have up there. So these are our youth fatalities from 2013 until 2023, so as of last week. And so youth, for our purposes, are anyone under 25. Anyone under 25 is considered youth when we look at youth statistics. And as you can see, depending on the year, we can have 2, 3, 4, or more fatalities of those folks that are under 25. So these are young people, and we know that young people are at higher risk for certain reasons. They have less experience, maybe less training. They're less likely to speak up when they see something similar to what Kurt was saying. But I would also, within this tragedy, and every single one of these is a story like Kurt, but worse. There are families here, there are people here. And it is difficult to think of it that way, but it's very, very important that we do. This is not just a graph. These are individual families and communities that have been devastated by these results. If there is a silver lining, if there is something that we can take from these numbers and move forward, it is what we're seeing in the last 3 to 4 years. So that's on the far side of that graph. In the last 3.5 years, we've had one fatality under the age of 25. Still tragic and not acceptable. Unacceptable. It should be 0. But if we look at what was going on before that, and we see that information or the statistics is kind of moving us toward the potential that we've had only one fatality in the last 3.5 years in the age 25 and below. One too many, but still much better than the results previous to that. Now, this isn't studied, this hasn't been analyzed, this isn't data that we can say absolutely we are seeing a reduction in youth fatalities, and this will continue. But I like to think of it and use it as a visualization sort of exercise, and something that you can take back and maybe share with your organizations. Imagine these are the numbers we're talking about for all fatalities in Saskatchewan at the end of our strategy in 2028. Imagine we're sitting in here still concerned and still trying to find the solution for that one fatality, but it's one fatality. It's not 35. And to me, this is really the heart of Mission Zero. We have actually achieved, as a province, and this is the result of hard work by employers, by educators, by parents, a significant, although we're not sure if it'll be sustained, reduction in fatalities of 25 or less. We've only got 25 to 65 to go. It can be done. In fact, it's happening right in front of us. So when someone says, well, there's no way we can get to 0 fatalities or 0 serious injuries, we did it in the 25 and younger group. This group is supposed to be incredibly dangerous. These are our snowflakes, right? Is that what we're supposed to call that group, the young people, the snowflakes? Maybe actually they can teach us a little bit of something, because for some reason we're seeing a shift. And if that shift does continue, I think we need to dive in a little bit more and see what are they doing right, what are their parents doing, what are their educators, what are some of the things we've put in place that are starting to make these changes. And I hope to see that we don't have another 25 and under fatality for the rest of our careers. And it's possible, it could happen. So when you're worried, when you're thinking, oh, this is a big problem, we're never gonna see 0 fatalities, we're never gonna stop this train, remember that you've done it. We just need to expand it to everybody else. And we're here to help in prevention and at WCB. So thank you for your time, and I'm going to pass it over to Trish. I'm not going to pass it over. No, I'll just leave this up here. There's lots of resources, plenty of things to look at. And if you are interested, please check out the booth in the back for WorkSafe. Our folks are happy there to talk with you, as well as the rest of the associations, to move our strategy and our Mission Zero forward. Thank you.